Hey, I'm Scotty T from Your Comedy Minute. I have a very special guest today. I have Shannon LALEEM with me. Shannon, you're in Florida, is that correct?
Yes, in West Palm Beach area.
West Palm Beach. And Shannon, just to let people know, we have never met. We just met like 2 minutes ago, right?
Yeah, of course. We actually we found each other through Reddit.
Right. And the reason I like doing them this way, Shannon, is because I don't know what you're going to say.
Yeah.
And you don't know what I'm going to say. Someone said, Scotty T, his mouth is like a magician's hat. You never know what the hell's going to come out of it. Someone else said that they should put caution tape over my mouth. So I'll warn you ahead of time.
Hey, I'd say I get a lot of similar things.
Well, I have here Shannon says shit on Instagram. So I think we're going to get along just fine.
Yeah, of course, of course. So I started comedy just 2 years ago.
Okay.
Um, and just kind of was like a fan of comedy in general, had gone to a bunch
Okay.
of shows at the local improv
Okay.
and never really knew how comedians were formed, I guess. And then I became a big fan of the show Kill Tony. Are you familiar?
I it sounds familiar. I may have seen it. I see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular comedy podcast. Essentially, the gist of it is that Tony Hinchcliffe is he was a Comedy Store regular guy. He
Okay.
decided to run this bucket open mic where you get 1 minute to do your comedy, and then he
Okay.
decides if he thinks you're funny or not.
Right.
And so me and my husband, we kind of like we're big fans of comedy and big fans of podcasts. So we were watching
Okay.
and we were like, oh, it'd be cool if we ever went to Austin, Texas, and like we could go and
And do it.
try this out.
Right.
And so from there, like just kind of like writing jokes. And
Okay.
my other friend was like, come out to the mic, like try it out. And that was 2 years ago,
2
essentially.
years ago. And
And yeah.
um, just to let the people know, and I will include all the links to your Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Your podcast is called the Thread Count Podcast.
It
Do
is.
you want to tell the people about that?
Yeah, so just this fall, I decided to start a podcast who isn't running one, right? And I wanted to do something a little bit different.
You're making me laugh. That's what I love. I love people that make me laugh.
Yeah, so
Yeah, it's
I
a
wanted
shame
to do
there's not
something.
more podcasts out there.
Well, exactly. Not enough comedy podcasts, right? Um, so we decided to do something a little bit different because my husband, he's not a comedian, he's a musician.
Right.
And then I do comedy
Yeah,
and
Joey Mason.
Joey
Let's
Mason.
let's give Joey Mason his props.
Yeah, so
Because not to just interrupt one second, I don't know if you know this. I worked in the music business my whole life.
oh really? Okay.
I have
Cool.
gold and platinum records. I worked with Tool. I worked with Kiss, Cheap Trick, Alan Jackson. You name an artist, I've been with them.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so
So
my husband went to
Joey and I'll get
school.
along. Joey and I'll get along great.
Yeah, so he went to school for music production.
Okay.
So he's like an IT music
Okay.
engineering, sound engineering, all that stuff.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Let's get back to the podcast because I think it's very interesting what you guys do.
Yeah, so essentially we were like, let's do something different. We sit here in bed and we like talk shit all the time.
Right.
So we're like, what if we just recorded this?
Right.
And just kind of like tossed around the idea of us like sometimes when we go out and like we've been together for 13 years. We started dating when I
Okay.
was
All
17
right.
and he was 19.
Very good.
So like right in high
Congratulations.
school.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And so we're best friends and like we've been together so long that it's like we go out, we like look at people when we're out and we like talk shit, we joke, and we're
Right.
like,
Right.
so and so looks like this and this and that.
Right.
We're like, it would be funny if somebody like could be a fly on the wall for our conversations. And that kind of was like, all right, let's do this. Let's try this in our bed. And so we did. And it's really taken off enough for only we're 14 episodes in.
Yeah,
Uh
let me just interject here. Your latest episode's called Bottom Bunk. It's number 14. The first one was In Bed with Biden. That was number one.
yeah.
And I have written down here just because I think it's important to let people know how well you're doing. On YouTube alone, just on YouTube, you have 107 subscribers, 33 videos up, and 20,301 views, which is fantastic. That's a great job.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been really kind of building something because it's kind of funny, like what's going on. We know our first episode we did just the two of us in our bed,
Right.
but then our other episodes have brought in different guests. Most of them have been comedians, other comedians. We've had a couple musicians. We
Well,
had a
that
friend of ours who grows fruit trees. That's one of our hobbies. Being in South Florida, we grow a bunch of like mangoes and things
right,
like
right.
that. So
Well,
that's been kind of the
I
premise.
have to say, you know, I've watched several of them, and the latest one, you know, where you're in bed and you have a big gentleman there in the middle of you.
Yeah.
You know, I, I, shit, I have so many questions
Yeah.
about the sheets, about, you know, I'm guessing it's a king size bed.
It is. It is a king
Okay.
size bed.
My parents had a king size bed. I used to love it.
Yeah, so I mean it is, it's definitely, it's just big enough to have really like one guest. We've tossed around
Oh,
the idea of what happens if we have two at the same time. Um
you're thinking having two people, a foursome.
yeah, yeah, we've never tried that out. So we've
Yeah.
talked about that, but it's definitely a tight squeeze.
Well,
Um
I'll say this
depending on
again.
who.
I don't want to interject too much, but I put on one of them because you know, there's 14 up, and I watched some of them.
Yeah.
And the one I saw, and I don't think I can offend you, but your husband's reading, I guess, a question, and they're talking about it. And do you know what I'm going to say?
Oh, I don't know. No, he says a lot of
They
crazy
ask
things.
him if you guys are doing butt stuff,
Oh, yes,
and he
yes.
sat there. Well, and you're like, you took a long time to say no.
I know. I was like, so we did a Valentine's Day special where it was only the two of us again.
Okay.
And I did like a ask me anything question anonymous
Right,
thing.
right, right.
And we get a lot of questions about like, oh yeah, like have you had threesomes, or are you doing butt stuff, or what kind of weird things do you guys do, and this and that. And yeah, like 13 years in, still no butt stuff. We're still vanilla as hell. We're still as vanilla as we look.
You know, that is showing just how open you guys are, that you know, you'll discuss butt stuff.
Yeah, hey, everybody's asking, gotta
Yeah.
answer the questions, right?
You know, I was not going to ask, but you know, that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
so it's been a lot of fun. And then what we do to kind of wrap everything up at the end is we write a song together about the guest. So some of
Okay.
the guests, my husband might not know very well, or both of us might not know very well before we have on, but we know enough about them to pick this and that out of their lives, or out of their comedy, or whatever it may be,
Right.
or based off of their name. And we write them a custom song, just a little short, about a
Right, right,
minute
right.
long kind of jingle. And
Okay.
yeah, that's been a lot of fun too, because it's kind of like working that creative muscle of like, how do I write a joke about this person?
Right.
And so it's kind of an interesting twist that we have, that I think has kind of attracted a lot of people. A lot of people love the songs. A lot of people have been like,
Right.
sing the songs back to us and things like that. And we have
Is it,
plans to bring it live one day, to bring the podcast
I
live.
was going to ask, is it all done one off, or do you record them and then edit them, or?
Yeah, so we record them just like right in our bedroom. And then my husband is a professional audio guy, so he does all the professional audio mastering, and
Okay.
then syncs the video together in Premiere. And then I kind of cut the clips and do the social media aspect. And we've been doing about one a week
Okay.
since we started. We took a little bit of a break during the holiday season. At some points we didn't release on certain weeks, and then we got sick in January, which delayed us. But other than that, we've been like pretty much releasing them on a rolling basis. And we're
Okay.
kind of looking to upscale like the professionalism of our YouTube, like getting like a real logo done, and
Okay.
kind of going with like those professional touches that podcasts have.
Okay.
Now that we've kind of built a following, because the only thing we really invested in was box lights.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Shannon, I'm 61, and I have a can and a string.
Yeah.
That's what I use. I have a Lenovo ThinkPad with a 1 terabyte hard drive hooked up, and that's about the best I got. That's it. We're flying on fumes over here at your comedy
It
minute.
works. You'd be surprised. We actually use like the new iPhone. That's
Yeah,
what we use as our camera. And it
right.
shoots in 4K. It's better than any camera we have. We have
Sure,
other
sure,
cameras,
yeah.
but I just got the brand new one shortly after we started the podcast. And then so we've been using that and just kind of working with what we have.
Well, I
And
think Shannon, and you, because you do stand-up comedy as well, I
yeah,
think it's what comes out of our mouths. I mean,
yeah,
naturally, like I did 3 Zooms yesterday, and I let the young man know this morning that the last one I did, I said I can't air it because he was using just a webcam and the quality was so bad.
yeah,
And I said to him, I said, I'm going to send you a camera. I have an extra JVC in a box. I'm going to send it to him. And he said, oh, because he was actually really funny. He was a young man, but it just, I can't, you have to have a certain quality. Like I like to think, I look pretty good. You look fantastic. You look like $1 million.
yeah.
Me, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think that's important.
It is. Unfortunately, that is like a like part of the piece of everything is like the
Definitely.
production. And that's new for somebody like me. Like I don't have any sort of background in that, but luckily my husband does.
Right,
So
right,
we get to kind of like tag team on that. And the stand up has been going great. I've had a lot of opportunities for only 2 years in. I think people
right,
outside of comedy maybe don't know how short 2 years is. Like 2 years isn't a lot of time.
right.
It's like once you're 4 or 5 years in, you're finally kind of comfortable and you're kind of like in a more solid state, they say. So you're laughing at that
Shannon,
because it's more so 10
Shannon,
years.
Shannon, I'm 4 years in. I'm not comfortable yet. I'm uncomfortable now. I tell you, it's rough. My
No.
wife, my
Well,
wife.
I feel like you always have your kind of your anxiety maybe before you go on
Oh
stage or
yeah,
do things like that. But kind of just like getting into a scene and
yeah,
getting your credits, getting seen from other comedians that are producing, getting those opportunities to be on local shows and things like that that help build you up. And within the last couple years, I've had a couple different opportunities. I was able to open up for Jessica Michelle Singleton. She's
okay,
a Comedy Store regular, real high energy
good,
comedian. I was a big fan of her podcast, which she's no longer doing, or she's doing a new one, but she used to do one with Steph Tolov. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She was on Bill Burr's Friends Who Kill.
okay,
Um, but I was super into that podcast. So I hit her up. I was like, hey, could I open for you?
cool,
And that was
great
last year.
job.
So that was about a year into me doing
Right,
comedy. I got to open up for her up in New Smyrna Beach.
okay,
And then recently, a couple of the comedians have started this new style show where they have a headliner, somebody from that, lots of big comics, but they have different headliners come out, and the headliners will watch like this competition where you do 90 seconds of stand-up comedy,
right,
and then they do like a really short interview, and they do like an improv round thing, like a fill in the blank, go as long as you can, the last person standing is who wins kind of deal.
okay,
um and I've done the last two of those. The last one was Adam Ray, if you're familiar with like the Dr. Phil thing that he
right,
does. So Adam Ray, I won a spot last month with him, and then this month I won a spot with another guy, a New York comic, Usama Sadiq, who was just on the Late Show. So these headliners, they watch us perform. They watch, maybe 20 of us perform,
okay.
and then they pick, 3 or 4 comics to perform the next night as their openers.
That's wonderful.
So I've had a couple different opportunities, between JMS and Adam Ray and now Osama, getting to open up for real touring headliners, which has been really awesome that we have those opportunities here.
Can I ask you, do you feel that you've gotten better over the two? In other words, when you look back at your first performance to 2 years, do you feel that your timing and things have gotten better?
Yeah, for sure. I think that also, like, the first time I went up and did comedy, like I kind of was just like doing it to try it. I didn't really think, oh, I'm gonna
Okay,
be a comedian or I want to be a comedian. I just was like, I'm gonna try this. It went as good as your first time typically goes. It was all right.
Yeah, right.
Nothing I would like post online or anything like that, but it was like not a terrible time. I had like local comics come up to me and be like, "Oh, you should try out like other open mics. You should kind of like keep writing and keep trying this."
Okay.
And so I just kind of did, and I just kind of caught the bug of like going to all these different open mics and building my set and trying to get booked on shows. And then kind of after about half a year almost or so, I started getting booked on like a lot of shows. I started having regular shows. It's like this month I think I had almost 12 shows in February, something like that.
Yeah, I
um,
saw the post on Instagram.
yeah, so it's allowed me to kind of like build my set and try new things in front of audiences. And I've started to kind of dabble in some crowd work stuff here and there because I've always been like a written comedian, like always coming up like I'm saying what I have planned. But having to learn how to like flex to different rooms, different situations, different crowds, and then like if somebody heckles you or this or that, like learning how to handle those situations, because comedy is not only just like you're writing your comedy, you're and performing your comedy, but it's also like hosting, learning how to host comedy shows, learning how to do crowd work, podcasting. It's kind of like a there's all these different legs to stand-up comedy in order to become successful over
Yeah,
time.
I have no clue what I'm doing whatsoever.
No, I don't think anyone really does. I think everyone's just trying and
Right
sad.
now, Shannon, I'm not getting enough oxygen. Right now,
Yeah, yeah.
right now. Hey, I
Yeah.
made you laugh. I made you laugh. That's great.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
when I make people. Well, I don't know about you, but I love when people make me laugh.
yeah.
I think when you do comedy, I've been doing it 4 years. You don't know, again, you don't know anything about me. So I got fired from my job for telling jokes. I worked in the music business my whole life. I started selling off my record collection, my posters and stuff. And then I took a job at Lowe's and I got fired for telling jokes. And I thought, well, people say I'm funny. So I started Your Comedy Minute 4 years ago. And it
Mhm.
has been
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, produce like I don't think people realize how much time really goes into producing a podcast.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that one
because
of the
like
cats?
that is, yeah,
Oh,
they're
I
both
see. I saw a couple. Which
yeah,
one is
yeah. This
that?
is that's Marley there.
Hi, Marley. How you doing,
And
buddy?
then
Oh,
yeah, Jerry's over here.
I was about to say that's a nice Queen shirt, but it's not Queen.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's actually
Uh,
a shirt from when I opened for JMS. She like has her shirt is a play on Queen, but it's yeah,
yeah.
Queen,
No, I love it. I love it. No, and I'm
which
a
I
big
think is kind
Queen
of
fan.
funny.
I'm an old guy. I told you I'm 61. But
Yeah.
so let's talk uh briefly about you had done, and I don't know how long you did it. What was it called here? I wrote it down. The Blame Girl podcast with Terry Wayne 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. So Giovanni Blame Girl, she's another comedian here in
Okay.
South Florida.
All right.
And she runs a live podcast where she has different comics come on. And her focus is kind of discussing different topics in local like politics and such.
Right.
And like trying to like have a little bit of a funny twist on that in some
Yeah, I'm
way.
cringing. I'm
And
cringing.
then
I'm cringing because politics and religion, man, it's
it can get tough. It can get tough.
oh
So
man.
it's also interesting because like she's very liberal, but of course we're in South Florida where
Yeah. Oh my
we have like
God.
a mix. South Florida is not as maybe conservative as one would
Right.
expect.
No, I spent
I
some
think when
time in
people think
Florida.
Florida,
Yep.
yeah, they think like super conservative, super this,
Right.
that. South Florida is like a little bit different than everywhere else in Florida, but we still have like our fair share of like conservative people here. And so it's
Sure. Sure.
interesting when there's an episode with like, because both her and her host are liberal, and then they bring in like maybe a more conservative comedian. And it's interesting to see how like they kind of argue about different topics. And so I was on their podcast, and then they do like a little interview about like what you have done as a comedian and what like your favorite thing has been and things like
Right.
that. And she's now been on our podcast too.
Okay.
So we did an episode with her. and we're also in a little reality TV show or mockumentary TV show. I think you mentioned that I had Brian Drolet from The Hills season 1. So Brian Drolet was on The Hills, the reality TV show that
Yeah.
was really big in the early 2000s.
Right.
And he's now a comedian here in South Florida. And he decided he was going to write kind of this mockumentary reality TV show about the real comedians of South Florida.
Okay.
So it's kind of this funny show where it's primarily scripted for the most part. But it's like just different comedian like stupid things, like comedians like having sex in cars, or like
Right.
the drunk comedian, or this or that, which is funny because I was written in as the drunk comedian. And I'm not like
And
really
you
a
don't
drinker.
drink.
I was like, how am I the drunk when
And I
like
don't drink. Yeah.
I was like, we got a couple alcoholics on this show. I'm like, how many alcoholic
Well,
comedians do we have? And I'm the drunk.
that's why Shannon, I like doing them this way where we've never met. You don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't know what's going to come out. And
Yeah.
the reason, and I guess I feel kind of vindicated by that. I don't know if you saw it, but Larry David, who's one of my favorites, Curb Your Enthusiasm, he said that they're not scripted at all. Did you see that?
I didn't know that.
He said that it's just one off. People come in and
Wow.
they, it's pretty much unscripted. So that's kind of why. I mean, I guess because a lot of people do. I've had people send me, well, here's a list of questions you can ask me.
Yeah.
What do you think I did, Shannon? Do you think I followed it?
Yeah, didn't ask any of those questions. Yeah.
I
I know
didn't ask him
people
but
always
one. I
ask
didn't
us
ask
like,
him one. I asked him what the hell I wanted.
yeah, well, it's like everyone always asks us like, oh, like, do you have anything I need to look at to prepare for the podcast or anything like that? And I was like, no, we'll just like talk about like
Oh, you
weird,
guys
crazy
do.
things that have happened. Like we'll probably talk about sex, we'll talk about comedy and music. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's what we talk about. So it's like that's
That's
kind of
wonderful. That's
the
wonderful.
extent. So
Well,
it's been
a
good
couple
though.
quick more questions, a couple quick questions yet. Do you have a favorite episode? Like I spoke to someone yesterday, and he says each one, like the latest one, because he does the editing and everything, his latest one is his favorite. Out of the 14, do you have a favorite?
I think they're all like really funny. We had one of my other comedian friends, Jeff Dolezal, on. His episode is called The Hatchet.
Okay.
Because he actually gets a little bit of a chub. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So if people want to know
No,
why and how,
I
they're
get
gonna have to
it.
check out. I think that's episode 4, The Hatchet.
Simba looked up with his one good eye, right?
Yeah,
Oh
yes,
my
that's what
God.
he
That's funny. I guess I should not. There's not a least favorite one that you, maybe the first one with Biden.
yeah, maybe our first one is like
With
where
Biden.
like we didn't have any lighting, we didn't have any like
Yeah.
ideas or anything to it. We were just like, let's just try. So yeah, that would probably, I guess, be
Well,
our
I
least
want
favorite.
to I want to say, honest to God, from the bottom of my heart, Shannon, and I mean this sincerely. Kudos to you and Joey for doing it, because it takes not just you doing stand-up comedy, but Joey getting in there and doing to get in front of the camera and actually speak and do it. I've been doing this 4 years, and it's called Your Comedy Minute. I was hoping people would come on, and 4 years later, I'm finally getting people to come on. But it's funny how many people over the years said they would love to do it, but then when it comes down to brass tacks,
Yeah.
it takes a special human being that's going to put themselves out there. I chose to do it 4 years ago. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I have the utmost respect for anyone that's doing it, regardless of your content, how good or how bad. I'm
Yeah.
just, I couldn't tell you how much I respect you.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a process to kind of produce your own yourself, really. You're like
Yeah, that's what you're
yourself,
doing.
and by making a podcast. So
Do you, because someone this morning, I did one over the weekend, I aired it, and he's like, well, I think my Marky the Elf, because he did Marky the Elf Christmas videos for me with his phone. You're a Comedy Minute Quickie, because I do these quickies. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, I think the Marky the Elf videos did better. And I said, well, bud, this year for the first time, I'm trying not to get caught up in the numbers.
Yeah.
Do you get caught up in the numbers?
I think like a little bit, it can be easy to be like, oh, how is the podcast performing? We want each episode to get over 150 views. When we started, though, I
Yeah.
think when we started, we had very low expectations.
Yeah.
And once that first episode kind of took
Yeah.
off, we were like a little shocked. Like my hope was originally like, oh, 50 views per episode, right? And then it was like, oh, we quickly were getting well over 100. We were getting 200, we were getting 300. And it was like, oh, well, now our expectations keep kind of getting higher as time goes on, and it's tough too, because like it's like you're pushing all these clips, and it's like people are probably like, I'm sick of seeing your podcast clips sometimes, but you got to do something to sell it.
Can I touch on that real quick, Shannon?
Yeah.
Uh, I started and I put all this effort into Facebook originally, and I got kicked off 9 times and finally took down my page. I put all this effort in. So I went to YouTube, and finally I had a video, went to 108,000 views, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be on Good Morning America. I'm a star.
Yeah.
And just recently, this is what's so funny about, what we're doing. Just recently, one of my videos on Instagram went to over 350,000 views.
Wow.
And all of a sudden I have, 1,600 followers. And ironically, Instagram says, hey, Scotty, we'll be glad to pay you.
Yeah.
I was monetized by Google, YouTube before, but it's just
Yeah.
funny how it works. And that's why I because that just came from, do you want me to do the joke, by the way?
Sure. Yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay.
What got
Yeah.
the big views on Instagram?
It's yeah, well, and it's one of those I wouldn't expect it, but it is a sign of the times. If I had a nickel for every racist thing I ever said, some Mexican would probably rob me.
Uh,
And needless to say, the cartel, there were some people didn't like it.
oh yeah.
And said they were going to be outside my house, the
Yeah,
Mexican
yeah.
cartel.
Well, that's the funny part, is sometimes the hate helps you go a lot further. Like it's interesting how like they say like one video that pops off, you could get a bunch of followers
I
from.
would have never
um
expected it. I would have
like
never
I
expected it.
have a friend down here, she had like a little like crowd work, like whatever thing that she posted. And that
Hey,
video
don't
ended up
diminish it.
getting,
Don't diminish it. Don't make her
well,
feel bad about it.
no, she even says this. She was like, it wasn't even like much of a thing,
Right.
but it was like this really little crowd work moment. And she posts a lot of content.
Right.
And she posted this one little crowd work thing that
And it
got
blew up.
over 1 million views
Yeah,
on
yeah,
it
yeah.
and went viral. And she went from like 2,000 followers to like 60,000
Yeah.
followers in a year.
Well,
And a lot of it was guys being like, you're not funny, you're not funny, you're not
yeah,
funny, which is, of
yeah.
course, something you deal with a lot as a female comedian.
Yeah, I
In
was going to
particular,
touch
is
on
like,
that.
oh, women aren't funny. And it's like,
Yeah,
that's just lame, because you
I
want to
don't
know how
like
many
that.
guys I watched at open mics
Yeah.
bomb?
I don't like, to be honest with you, I don't do political humor at all. I don't
Yeah.
do, religious humor. I don't do it. My sister's married to a black man. I don't do any racial humor. I don't do any lesbian, gay, trans. I just don't. Just because there's, now I do a lot of dirty. I love a good rape joke.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, I'm kidding. Hey, I made you laugh again. Good. No, I think there's a point where I don't like stereotypes at all. All women are this or all men. Someone did
Yeah.
that over the weekend. Someone said, oh, it was a girl the other day. She wanted to do a joke. And she said, well, all men. I said, hold on. Do you mean all Jewish men, all black? No, all men. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, good to clear it up there,
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good to clear it up.
I mean, it depends. Like I don't really mind edgy types of jokes, or like I don't really like, I know like clean comedians oftentimes don't like dirty comedians, and there's
Yeah,
definitely that like sort of thing, but it's like I don't necessarily feel that way about all the clean comedians. I'm not like, I don't like you guys because you're not the comedy style I like. It's like
funny is
it's
funny.
just different. It's just
Yeah,
different.
funny
It's
is
not,
funny.
maybe it's not what I would like maybe it's not a person I would want to go and see live,
Right.
but maybe I don't think it's not like I think they're a bad comedian because they're not the style I
Right.
particularly
Right.
like. It's like different music. I like to
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
relate comedy to music in the sense that like there's
Yeah.
different genres of music and there's different genres of comedy. And like not everybody likes Taylor Swift, right? Like I
I was
love
going to
Taylor
touch on that.
Swift.
I was going to touch on
Todd
that real
Button.
quick. Washington Post. Washington Post. There's a picture of you.
Yes.
Taylor
Yes.
Swift.
Yeah, so I produce comedy shows down here,
Okay.
and that's led me into venues that um I've been able to also do like Taylor Swift events.
Yeah, cool.
And so I was featured in the Washington Post
Yeah,
for a
I
party I
saw it
had.
today.
And
I
yeah, so
did a
that
little,
was
hey,
cool.
I worked today. I busted my butt to do this, to try and get some credibility with you. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
yeah,
one day to open up, be your opening act. The old guy
yeah.
comes out and does the opening act.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, look, we don't have a lot of time left, but I wanted to make sure we covered everything. It's called the Thread Count Podcast. It's Shannon LALEEM from Florida. She's a great young lady. I utmost admiration for you, Shannon. Is there anything else you want to touch on before you give me your comedy minute?
I think that's it. Yeah, Thread Count podcast. We're on Spotify,
Okay.
YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
I'm going to put all the links in this. When we air this, it'll air in about 2 weeks, and I will put all the links in the description for everyone to check you out.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah,
And
and so
I
I
will do
think by
everything
then we
I
might
can.
have
I'll
our
do everything I
rebranding.
can to help out, Shannon.
Awesome, sounds great. Yeah,
Cool.
that's pretty much all I have to plug.
All right. Can you give me a comedy minute? That's my buddy designed all this stuff. I haven't a clue. I told you I'm flying on fumes.
Yeah. So like a joke. You want me to like tell you
You
a joke,
do
right?
whatever pleases you, tickles me plumb to death. I don't give. Can I say shit? I don't give a shit.
You can say shit. I definitely, hey, I say
I
every word.
don't give a
I
shit,
could say every
Shannon.
word.
It's shit. What is it called? Shannon says shit. Say
Shannon
some
says shit. That's
shit,
hey, you
Shannon.
can definitely say
Say
shit.
some shit, Shannon. Say some shit. For God's sake,
So I guess
say
I'll
some
go with
shit, Shannon.
I guess I'll go with a new idea,
Okay.
that I'm working on.
All right.
And that's that why do nipple hairs look like eyelashes? Like why do they look like eyelashes? Like
Oh my God, Shannon.
I was getting out of the
Comedy
shower the
gold.
other day, my husband eyes to tits immediately.
Comedy gold. Comedy gold, Shannon.
I'm like, why are you looking at my nipples? He's like, have you realized there's eyelashes on them?
Oh my God. I would
And I'm like, to be fair, my nipples kind of look like
Oh,
Tommy
Shannon,
Pickett's head.
Shannon, you gotta stop. You gotta stop.
And
You
so
know, I
essentially
did
where
this
I go
too.
with this is the idea is to go into feeding off the Miami scene and saying that I don't know if you know this, but fake eyelashes are made with
They-
real human hair. They're made with real human hair. Yeah, so I
And
actually just got a sick ass new job plucking my nipple hairs.
yeah.
And they're on all the eyelashes of the women of Miami. So that's
Brilliant
my new
stuff.
that's one of my new minutes I'm working on. So
Okay. I actually yesterday I ran this joke by the girl and I did one with another female comedian and
mhm.
she looked at me, so I'll run it by you. And it's just terrible. But my girlfriend said, "What does mansplaining mean?" Never mind.
And
Never
I
mind.
guess I guess so
It
then
didn't
you
do
would have
well,
to
Shannon. I thought it was going to do better, but it just didn't
well
do.
I guess I was looking to see where you were gonna go. So then I
Yeah.
told her.
Oh,
So
I
then
know
I
where I
told
was
her,
going.
you know.
Hey, let me stop the recording, okay? Thanks for being here. You are just a bundle of energy. I love you.
Awesome.
You're
Thank you for
fantastic.
having me. I
Don't
appreciate
don't
it.
go anywhere though. I just want to stop the recording, okay? Because we
Perfect.
only have a
Thank you.
minute or two left. Hang in.